In the glistening waters of Tumon Bay, a traditional canoe catches the wind. For the indigenous people of Guam, the Chamorros, sailing is in their blood.
We didn't sprout out of the ground, we came from the ocean. It's about where we come from, and that's very important.
This ancient tradition is a living link to their seafaring ancestors. But centuries of colonisation have taken their toll.
There's a lot that has been lost or forgotten over time. So it's really important for us to reconnect and relearn, to understand who we are.
Today, Guam sits at the centre of a new struggle, caught between the world's most powerful military and the right of its people to determine their own future.
We've become so reliant on this force that doesn't really care about the impact that they're making on our island. We should have control over our resources and have a say in what happens.
Guam has been an American territory for more than a century. The 50-kilometre long island is the closest American soil to flashpoints like Taiwan, and nearly a third of it is controlled by the military. And as geopolitical tensions intensify, an unprecedented build-up is dividing the island.
These islands are the tip of America's spear.
Essentially, the military build-up here guarantees ecological destruction.
The people here fight and die for America, yet they have no political voice.
Have we not died for our country enough?
But can Guam stand on its own?
If there was no military, this island economy would be down now. It would be shut off.
In this episode of The Pacific, we take you to the tip of America's spear and inside the fight over Guam's future. Long before the arrival of American warships, these waters were ruled by Chamorro sailors. Their canoes proved a devastating force during a 30-year war with Spain in the 17th century.
So the canoe was the vehicle that kept the Chamorros fighting for 29 years. And because of that, we were banned from building any canoe.
Today, Rona Fadzi is helping reclaim what was taken.
We decided we're going to learn how to build our style canoe and take it back. So the sail is black because it's like the pirates. When they want something, they'll go and get it however way they can.
So you're a bit of a pirate?
Yeah. Call it whatever. I'm ready.
And he's teaching a new generation of Chamorros like Emily Hatsu.
I'm not as familiar with reading the waves and the wind, but it is so freeing at the same time.
Thank you for having us. Really appreciate it. And how far do you go?
All the way up to Northern Marianas, if I can. Yeah. About 300 some miles up.
Up at his workshop overlooking the bay, Ron says he didn't have the same opportunities when he was young.
When we graduated from high school, there was no place for us to go. So a lot of us joined the military. Joining the Marines for 4 years was, I gave it all my best. I gave whatever it is they wanted. I come home now and I took that knowledge and I took that discipline and I'm teaching it to the younger generation. They don't have to join the military.
But the military is a tempting career pathway on an island with limited opportunities. The enlistment rate here is among the highest of any US state or territory, and history here still looms large. During World War II, Guam was captured and occupied by Imperial Japan for 3 years. The story of how the US liberated the Chamorros in 1944 is etched into the landscape in memorials, statues and relics. But freedom came at a price. Indigenous lands were later forcibly acquired. 3 major bases now occupy nearly a third of Guam.
Our people are brainwashed that the military is important to be here. It's not true. It's not that important.
Ron is among a growing number of Chamorros, who make up about half of Guam's 170,000 people, questioning a widely held view that what's good for the military is always good for Guam.
These are the huts that we built. There's a growing concern now that they're disrespecting our land. Main thing that people say is respect when you come to an island, you know. So I view them as coming here for not for the culture, not for any other things other than for themselves. I think now we can make our own decision as far as our future for our people. We can control our own destiny.
It's not cheap at all.
So this is a Japanese pillbox.
Yep.
The Second World
Yep.
War. But real change won't come easy.
The U.S. has always considered Guam a place to launch strikes. It's a force projection area. During Vietnam, it was massive. It represents a treasure in terms of a military in the way they see it.
Leland Bettis from the Pacific Center for Island Security says Guam's value to Washington is simple: access, speed, and full control.
I think they would like to operate without constraints in terms of dealing with any potential China conflict. The military does not need permission from the government in Guam to project force. It does in Japan, it does in Korea, it does in the Philippines.
Today, that importance is driving the largest military build-up on Guam since World War II.
We're doing here. The new missile system. Yes, the new one, the whole 360 one. So.
Okay. On an escorted visit at one military site, we met with the team building the new $8 billion Guam defense system, a first of its kind missile shield.
I'd say it is a full commitment to the people of Guam and to the defense structure that we have here, that it is being fielded here first.
Some estimates expect personnel numbers on the island to rise from about 20,000 to more than 30,000 by the end of the decade. For Guam local Captain Alejo Lujan, the build-up is welcomed.
It's provided a lot of opportunities for young adults, young kids, and people who aspire to serve for a higher calling.
This pristine coastline on Guam's northern edge is known as Ritidian, a protected wildlife refuge and sacred to Chamorro people. But near its entry, the serenity is broken by the sound of demolition.
It can be really loud, but you hear it very clearly. All of the clearing and grading.
We're here with Monica Flores, an activist taking a stand against the military build-up. Here in Ritidian, Monica has fought hard against a controversial live firing range being completed just behind these trees.
You wouldn't believe that all of this is happening right on top of this beautiful sacred area. It's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking.
We'll pull over here.
Right,
okay, got it.
Yeah, and then that's the Pass an ID office.
At the nearby entry to Army Camp Blaz, she shows us the scale of the build-up.
So what are these large buildings? What are they housing?
So the large buildings include housing for the Marines, clinics, classrooms, offices.
Nearly $9 billion has been allocated to expand facilities for thousands of Marines relocating from Okinawa. US military assessments indicate up to 10% of Guam's remaining limestone forest has been cleared or impacted by expansion works. It's still unclear when the Marines will actually move.
And it's even more frustrating today to think that all of that destruction took place and now the Marines might not even come here.
Environmental watchdogs also warn millions of rounds fired in the base each year could leach lead into soil and water. The firing range sits above an aquifer supplying 80% of the island's drinking water. Guam already lives with a long history of military contamination.
This is generational harm, and we have high incidence of cancer, heart disease, diabetes here. Essentially the military buildup here guarantees ecological destruction, affecting our food security, the safety of our drinking water, the health of our people. Those are real security issues. They're just back to back.
Taking on the military has come at a price for Monica. Like many here, she comes from a military family.
My activism has definitely affected my relationship with my family. It's been really tough. It's definitely kind of been like an identity crisis in some ways. It can be really lonely, actually.
For the many Chamorros that do enlist, serving in the US military can raise difficult questions.
Half a day. Hello.
Hey, what's up, brother? Come on.
Nice to meet you.
This is our office.
Cool.
So this is basically what is called a gear stand.
Roy Gamboa joined the Marines after 9/11.
9/11 affected people differently and whatnot, and for me it was, I've got to go. I want to go, I need to go. On my deployment to Fallujah,
He served 2 tours in Iraq.
we had basically found one of these big Iraqi flags. Little arcade.
He later founded the support organisation, Got Your 671.
It is nothing like the movies. It changes you, and sometimes you don't realize how much it changes you. You come home with demons. They manifest themselves in nightmares, sleeplessness, and some of our friends, to the tune of 22 a day, our veterans are dying by suicide.
Up to 14% of Guam's population are veterans, but studies show they have access to less than half the services available to veterans in the average US state. For some, even basic care means flying thousands of kilometres to Hawaii.
Our voice is just, a little drop in the gigantic Pacific Ocean. My question, of course, is always, do we not bleed the same? Have we not died for our country enough?
For Roy, being a patriot doesn't mean he can't question the military. A short drive away, we're on a ridge overlooking the naval base.
So all those little hills going down that way, my grandfather has property in that area there.
Beneath us, Roy points out his grandfather's land that was forcibly acquired after the war.
It's almost as if someone came in, stole your property, and they're just dangling it in front of you. I feel more hurt knowing that his belief was someday we will get this land back. And he died.
And is that hurt exacerbated by the fact that you served your country, you put your life on the line for this country, and I guess this is how they...
Yeah, it's to say the least, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, what else does someone from Guam have to do to prove their patriotism? How much more blood do we have to shed? Where does a veteran belong on the island of Guam who, as a veteran who knows and understands what's been taken, where do you side? And so what I said at some point was, in many cases, veterans can feel conflicted. Without America, we'd be like any other third world country. Put me in a room with a bunch of veterans that are hardcore, maybe even borderline MAGA, and I understand exactly. And the next weekend I could be hanging out with locals who are fighting for indigenous rights. I'm torn. I'm stuck between the two worlds, or whatever it may be.
In many ways, Guam can feel like two worlds. We were given escorted access to the naval base, where military personnel live in manicured suburbs with pools, sports facilities, and private access to some of Guam's best snorkeling. But for everyday people, life here can be a grind. The cost of living is among the highest in the United States.
Or an apartment or a condo, that's about almost $3,000 a month. And that does not include utilities like power or water.
39-year-old mother of 4, Jessica Lazama, and her husband both work full-time, but still can't afford a place to rent. They've lived with Jessica's parents for 6 years.
I pass by, these houses, and I just look at it like it's not even a fancy home. It's just a regular home, 4 bedrooms, and it's just heartbreaking to see that those units are catered to the military.
Around half of Guam's military personnel live in civilian housing. They can receive rental allowances of $3,000 per month. The local government admits these allowances are intensifying an already dire housing crisis.
Do you think it's fair that everyday people like you are struggling to find the houses that they need while military personnel kind of get all the help?
Absolutely not. It's very frustrating, heartbreaking. Sometimes it just feels helpless, and the emphasis on America, we are America, the best, whatever is good for America is good for Guam, which is absolutely, not right. There's a lot of things, a lot of negative impact that's having on the local community.
Any housing economy, of course, is a complex system, but we're committed to working with the government of Guam and the people of Guam to make sure that we manage those pressures.
On Nimitz Hill, we met with the commander of Joint Task Force Micronesia, Rear Admiral Joshua Lasky. He says the military is working to secure more off-base housing, and that environmental issues are being managed in accordance with regulations.
Is everybody always happy? Of course not, but I don't think that's necessarily a signal of a flaw in the system. That's a healthy system. We're getting, voices out, voices of concern, and we work hard to address those concerns.
But there are questions about Guam, its identity and its future without a clear answer.
How would you respond to people that would describe the United States as an occupying force on Guam?
Well, that's an interesting perspective, but I would say Guam is a territory of the United States. So it is the U.S. homeland, and the citizens of Guam are citizens of the United States.
But unlike other US citizens, the people of Guam cannot vote for president or decide how the military uses their island.
You describe Guam as part of the American homeland, but the people here don't have the same rights as people of the US homeland. How does that sit with you?
I think that is really a matter for the government of Guam and the United States government. What I can tell you is we're committed to being part of the community here.
At the University of Guam, we met with one of the island's most prominent voices on Chamorro rights, Dr. Robert Underwood.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time. You've had a long association with the university.
Yeah, I started working here in '76.
He's a former member of the US Congress, but Guam's delegate has no voting power.
So how many students study Chamorro studies, or?
Maybe a couple of hundred.
Yeah, okay, well that's fairly substantial.
Yeah.
A fact Dr. Underwood says proves the people of Guam are not normal US citizens.
That makes us very different, makes us very vulnerable. It makes you have no voice unless the colonial power decides to give you some voice. And then you're supposed to be grateful when they do. You belong to the United States, but you're not really part of the United States.
Dr. Underwood is also critical of the military's economic dominance in Guam. It underpins as many as 1 in 5 jobs here.
The military captured not just the land, they captured the economy, and they made sure that all the economy that you had was military connected. So now you're anticipating they're going to build $8 billion to build a missile defense system. Out of that $8 billion, how much is going to be spent on Guam? Actually spent here, as opposed to being spent at Lockheed Martin. Why are we developing engineers? Why are we developing people who are adept at computers? To be construction workers at a military base? Is that what we're doing that for? And so, that's a very short-sighted view of the economy.
Without other opportunities, many young people choose to leave and work on the US mainland.
60 to 70% of the people who graduate here stay here or in the region.
Yep.
But if they go off island, only 1 in 3 comes back.
Right.
But after a collapse in tourism following the pandemic, many couldn't survive without the military's help.
Hey there, I'm looking for Lee.
He is inside.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, great.
If there was no military, this island economy would be down now. It would be shut off. There'd be no money coming in here. And then I was treated here and discharged.
Lee Weber was medevaced to Guam during the Vietnam War. He married a local and never left. After decades in publishing, today he runs a dive shop.
And after COVID, everything fell apart, but our military business held. So, you know, we're probably 95% military, in spite of what any politician will tell you. I'm not a politician. The island's really actually in dire straits.
This is for courtesy as well?
Lee doesn't believe Guam would benefit from more autonomy.
If we were a state, we'd be in a mess. And if we were independent, we'd be so vulnerable, it would be unbelievable.
As night falls, Got Your 671 veterans and their families gather above Tumon Bay. Once a week, they get together to talk about issues affecting their lives.
So Battle Buddy Talk is a peer-to-peer, veteran-led group topic discussion.
The risk of war and the military build-up is on everyone's minds.
We came across a lot of Chinese vessels, and they are not to be underestimated. China is a very formidable opponent.
So when people tell me, oh, they're concerned about China, do you know what happened in Venezuela a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
We knocked them out. I'm not worried.
But even here, among this group of committed patriots, the build-up is still causing anxiety.
Beyond the concern of, everybody being able to blow the shit out of everybody else, my biggest concern is with bringing tens of thousands of new people on the island. We already see the stresses that are on the infrastructure here. I mean, I know right now the housing situation is getting crazy and it's unaffordable for the people that are already living here. So
more than anything, these veterans who have put their lives on the line for the United States want more of a say.
I wish we had more of a voice. This is our island. We're not just some strategic island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Just because a person speaks out on having this influx of military personnel doesn't always necessarily mean that they're anti-military or anti-American.
For all the territories, at least give us the opportunity to vote for president. Many of us in the circle have paid our dues. What we will continue to argue for, and you've heard us, argue about this so many times year after year, is we want better healthcare out here. We want better representation.
But for many Chamorros, control isn't just about representation, and the most powerful form of resistance isn't political at all. At the beginning of the school day, students at the Hurrao Academy, Guam's first Chamorro immersion school, are gathering for a daily ritual of song in the Chamorro language. Fewer than 15% of Guam's population can speak Chamorro. For decades, it was suppressed and banned in schools until the 1970s. Hurao's founder, Ana Maria Arceo, says the effects of those policies are still being felt.
It took a lot away from people. Many people now, my age and many generations now, who have grown up and they have this hole in them of feeling incomplete.
But the future is looking bright. This is the first year the school is fully publicly funded. In these classrooms, a new generation is being given something many of their parents were denied.
It was forbidden for my grandparents to speak it in school or my parents to speak it in school. It's been kind of tough time for me to even speak about it.
School parent Sagui says enrolling his kids here has been transformational.
For me, having them in a Chamorro school and learning their Chamorro language, they would not have to struggle with their identity like I have.
I like to speak Chamorro because it's part of who I am and makes me proud when I speak.
A lot of our families have gone off island because of the cost of living or whatever, whatever it is, medical care. But this, showing them this, how it's like a family, that's important to us.
Guam and the Chamorro people have endured a great deal. But across this island, a revival is underway. Not led by politicians or by military power, but by everyday people.
We can't give up. We can't give up the fight. We can't give up the hope. It's never a futile attempt whenever an Indigenous person is resisting their own annihilation.
If we don't wake up to realize that our kids are going to leave us one day, it's because we allowed it to happen. If they need to have something that will hold them to the island, seafaring will keep them here for that. Because that'll now instill the pride and we'll want them to stay. No matter what it takes, they'll stay, just as much as I'm doing the same. As long as I'm alive, I'll stay optimistic. I'll always stay optimistic.
No matter what our political status is, if we protect our families and the teaching of our language and culture within our families, then nobody can take that away from us.
We the best kept secret in the West Pacific. Wrecking mics with our rights just to get specific. White man stole the land, but he won't admit it. Centuries of history, come and check my limits.